Welcome to the deep dive. So today we're looking at a really fascinating piece of history, actually, from the 1940s. It's a program called Training Within Industry, or TWI. You might not have heard of it, but wow, its impact was surprisingly profound.
It really was, and I think our mission here for this deep dive, it's really about getting past just, knowing TWI was a thing.
Right, going deeper.
Yeah, we want to understand those core ideas, how they actually worked, and importantly, why something from, wartime, why it still has these really valuable lessons for anyone really looking to learn fast or make things better today. We're after those aha moments,
After those aha moments. And to make that happen, we've got some really great source material here. We'll be digging into excerpts that cover, well, everything from why TWI started, context, the specific methods they used, the honestly pretty remarkable results, and how it kind of lives on today.
Right. So maybe the best place to start is, well, the beginning. What was going on that made TWI necessary?
Okay, so picture the early 1940s. Things are heating up globally.
Yeah, war looming.
Exactly. And for the U.S., there was this very real fear about American industry. Specifically, a massive shortage of skilled workers if or when the U.S. entered the war.
Because of the draft, right. You'd have a huge chunk of the experienced guys, say 18 to 34, potentially heading off to fight.
Precisely. So you've got this potential brain drain, or skills drain, I guess. But the sources also point out you had this other large group of people, women, older men, people from admin backgrounds, who needed to step into those factory jobs, but, didn't have the industrial experience.
Right. So the big question is, how do you get this huge group of, well, essentially novice workers ready for really critical production? And fast. You can't just throw them in the deep end.
No way. And that's where the TWI approach was, I think, pretty smart. Instead of trying to train everyone all at once.
Which would be impossible.
Right. They focused on the people already there, the supervisors, the really experienced operators.
The trainer idea.
Exactly that. Give the leaders the tools, the skills to teach the new folks effectively, to spot ways to do the job better, and, crucially, how to build good working relationships.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like a force multiplier.
Yeah. And the sources we look at really hammer home this idea that, quote, the real job had to be done by industry, within industry.
So it wasn't some outside group telling them what to do?
No, it was about empowering the companies themselves to fix their own problems, basically.
Okay. So to actually do this, TWI had, 3 main parts, and then another one added later.
That's right. The core 3 were job instruction, job method, and job relation. Let's maybe start with job instruction. What was that about?
Okay. Job instruction, or JI. This was all about having a solid, reliable way to teach someone a task. And, critically, making it repeatable.
So standardization.
Exactly. Standardizing the jobs, making sure everyone learned the same best way to do something, which, if you've got loads of new, inexperienced people coming in.
That's absolutely essential.
Yeah.
You need that baseline consistency, that quality.
You got it. It involved things like breaking down the job step by step, finding the key points, the things that could really mess it up if you got them wrong, and then teaching it very clearly.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
What about the second one, job method?
Job method, or JM. This was a bit different. It was about teaching supervisors how to look at the jobs they were already doing and figure out ways to improve them, to make them better, faster, easier, safer.
So not just doing the job, but improving the job.
Precisely. It was about building this mindset of continuous improvement right there at the supervisor level.
That sounds a lot like Kaizen, doesn't it? The small ongoing improvements idea.
You absolutely nailed it. JM is like a direct ancestor of Kaizen. It gave supervisors a structured way to analyze work, asking those who, what, where, when, why, how questions to find waste and make things better.
Okay, fascinating connection there. And the third one, job relation.
Job relation, JR. This one feels really key, especially today. It was all about the people side.
How supervisors work with their teams.
Exactly. How to build good relationships, how to handle problems before they blow up, how to get the best out of each person. Not just barking orders.
Yeah, respect communication.
Right. Things like give credit when it's due, tell people about changes before they happen, use everyone's skills properly. Fundamental stuff, really.
But often overlooked.
Very true. And then, as you said, they added job safety later on. JS focusing on, keeping people safe. Pretty fundamental prerequisite.
Definitely. So, okay, we have these 4 pillars. Instruction, method, relation, safety. Sounds good on paper, but did it actually work? What do the sources say about the results?
Oh, the results. Yeah, they're pretty eye-opening. The program ran in over 600 companies monitored by the Army.
Oh, 600.
Yeah, and get this, 86% of them boosted production by at least 25%.
86%. That's huge.
Yes, and 100%, every single one cut training time by 25% or more.
Okay, that's massive for bringing in new people.
Huge. 88% cut labor hours by over 25%. 55% cut scrap by at least 25%. And another 100% reduced workplace grievances or claims by over 25%.
That's just across the board improvement. Efficiency, quality, people.
It's staggering, really. And there's a fantastic example in the sources about B-17 bomber production that really brings it home.
Oh, yeah. Tell us about that.
Okay, so before TWI, they were making maybe 75 bombers a month.
Okay.
After they implemented TWI, that number jumped to 364 a month.
Whoa, from 75 to 364.
Yeah, that works out to like a new B-17 rolling out every 1.6 hours.
Incredible.
And remember, labor was like 60% of the plane's content, so that productivity leap is massive. Plus, they hit that 55% scrap reduction mark, and get this, the cost per plane dropped 42% in just under 3 years.
Wow, from $242,000 down to $139,000.
Exactly. It's powerful proof that the system worked, and the sources make it clear TWI played a really significant role in the whole Allied war effort.
You can see why, but the story doesn't stop there, right? What happened after the war?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting and maybe a bit surprising. The U.S. government actually took TWI over to Japan.
To Japan, as part of the reconstruction.
Yeah, exactly. And some major Japanese companies, the sources mention, Toyota and Sanyo specifically, they really ran with it.
Toyota.
How they took these TWI methods and basically baked them into their whole way of operating. It became like foundational for their production systems.
So before we get to that link with Toyota,
Yeah.
what was the sort of secret sauce behind TWI? Why did these J programs work so well?
Good question. The sources point to something fundamental. The Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle, PDCA.
Deming's PDCA cycle.
It's the very same.
Yeah.
Developed by William Edwards Deming. For anyone listening who might not know it, it's basically a 4-step loop for improvement.
Right. Plan what you want to improve.
Do it. Implement the plan.
Check the results.
And then act. Either standardize the success or tweak the plan and go again.
Okay. And TWI use this.
Fundamentally. All the J programs, instruction, method, relation, they were built around those 4 steps. So this systematic, cyclical approach to improvement was just woven right into the training. Job method, for instance, is heavily focused on the plan and do parts for process changes.
Okay, that makes sense. It embeds that continuous improvement thinking.
Exactly. Which makes it even stranger, perhaps, that TWI was pretty much dropped in the U.S. after the war ended.
Really? Despite all that success, why?
The sources don't delve too deeply into the why, but it seems the focus shifted. Meanwhile, Japan,
They kept using it.
enthusiastically. It became a cornerstone for rebuilding their industry. And Toyota, as we mentioned, really integrated TWI with the ideas of their own production genius, Taiichi Ohno.
And that's the connection for anyone familiar with lean manufacturing.
This is ground zero. That blend of TWI's structured methods and Ohno's focus on flow and waste elimination, that's basically the birth of the Toyota production system.
Wow. So TPS has roots right back in this American wartime program.
Pretty much. Now, the sources also suggest there's a kind of ideal order to roll these things out.
Oh yeah. What's the recommended sequence?
It starts with job safety. Get the workplace safe first, foundational.
Makes sense.
Then, job relation. Focus on the people, the communication, the relationships.
Okay, safety then people.
Then, job method. Start looking for those process improvements, driving efficiency.
Improve the work itself.
And finally, job instruction. Lock in the best practices, standardize the work, make sure training is effective to those standards.
Safety, relation, method, instruction. JS, JR, JM, JI. It feels logical, building on each step.
It does seem to build a really solid foundation. So if we were to quickly recap the big benefit, the takeaways from TWI.
Okay, yeah. Well, that train-the-trainer idea seems huge. Empowering supervisors.
Definitely. Then the focus on high-quality training itself, reducing errors, boosting quality, making things more productive.
And standardization. Defining that one best way as a starting point for getting better.
Right. And Joe method, that really was the start of Kaizen, wasn't it? That philosophy of constant small improvements.
Yeah, seems like it. And you can't forget the Job relations part. Getting results through people, not just from them. Building those positive relationships.
All of which feel well, incredibly relevant right now, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Think about today's challenges, like labor flexibility, companies dealing with high turnover,
The need for fast, effective training is critical,
or the skills gap, people needing broader knowledge tech, complex machines, IT.
which makes good standardized training even more important. You need that solid base.
And polyfunctionality people needing to do multiple jobs. How do you train for that and keep standards high?
TWI principles seem tailor-made for that. And it's not just factories anymore, is it? The sources mentioned healthcare.
Yeah, that's interesting. Applying TWI and lean ideas there, you can see how better people relations, standardized procedures.
Could make a huge difference to patient care, efficiency, quality of service. It translates surprisingly well.
It really does. So wrapping this up then, we've seen TWI spring out of this urgent wartime need, deliver these, frankly, incredible results through its focus on method and people.
Laying the groundwork for giants like Toyota.
And then this weird journey where it kind of faded in the US but flourished elsewhere, especially Japan.
Yeah, quite a story.
But the core message seems clear. These basic principles, good training, smart processes, strong relationships, they're just timeless, aren't they? Still so relevant for today's problems in all sorts of fields.
Absolutely. And maybe that leads to a final thought for you listening. Given how powerful TWI was and how it kind of got, well, not forgotten, but maybe sidelined in some places, what other ideas or methods from the past might be sitting there overlooked that could actually hold some really valuable keys for the challenges we're facing right now in your own work, your own field?
That's a great question. Maybe worth digging into those fundamentals again, how we train, how we improve, and crucially, how we work with people.
Something to think about.